The forgotten man in this UCLA turnaround is UCLA defensive coordinator, and it's time to give him a lot more credit.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free, wherever it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download things for your support. Welcome back, everydayers. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. What we're talking about today, Kevin Coyle's rise and the UCLA defense's turnaround, the need to give a lot of credit to Kevin Coyle. Also, we'll discuss the keys defensively to UCLA versus Indiana. And finally, Donovan Dent, how is he snubbed? We'll wrap that up in today's show of Locked On UCLA. So let's get right to it. There's been a lot of love for Jerry. Of course, you bring in the offensive guru, the wonderkind, if you will, and he has turned things around offensively for UCLA. The vibes have been immaculate, if you will, when Tim Skipper has been the interim head coach. A lot of calls for him to be the permanent head coach. There's a lot of calls to keep everybody involved in place with UCLA. But the thing is, this hasn't been a one-sided turnaround. This has been a whole full-fledged turnaround from top to bottom, coach all the way to last player on this roster. No player sitting in the portal. Everything has changed. And Kevin Coyle has been the forgotten man. Finally talked to the media today during the practice availability. But what are the numbers that showcase UCLA's ability to implement a completely new defensive game plan and get the most out of a team that looks so bad defensively? I thought UCLA was going to get boat raced by Penn State. Now the Bruins made enough plays, but the Bruins have had Coyle for 4 games and Jerry Neuheisel for 3. So what has been this turnaround? Large in part, the Bruins have been a lot better physically, handling the physicality, being a more physical defense. What does that mean? Well, for Coyle's defense, UCLA has been able to get in the backfield and force teams to have negative plays. When you look at the first few weeks of the year, UCLA in the first 3 games prior to Kevin Coyle becoming defensive coordinator, 5 tackles for loss. That includes only 2 sacks, no fumble recoveries, and 0 turnovers forced. All right. Now, there were 2 fumble recoveries, yes, and the punt returns, but there wasn't really anything the defense was doing to earn turnover opportunities. They weren't getting the backfield. They weren't getting home. They were missing well-timed blitzes at the time called by Kike Malloy, but the Bruins weren't making plays. Then you bring in Kevin Coyle. You can see the immediate difference. They played Northwestern, who's now 5-2 and also 3-1 in Big Ten play. Northwestern, the Bruins had 7 tackles for loss. They were able to have a couple of sacks, just their first game all year against an FBS, against a Power 4 team where they had 2 sacks. And you're like, okay, maybe something could happen. There was a pressure, a couple of pass breakups. UCLA, the block kick, they made things happen. All right. Now you start to look at the other games where you're like, okay, what happened in Penn State? The Bruins gave up a lot of points against Penn State, right? The Nittany Lions very close to winning that game and coming from behind fashion. Well, the numbers have continued to stack up. 6 tackles for loss, a sack, and this is where UCLA has been able to be a lot better. The physicality mixed with luck and the intensity had led UCLA to be a lot more opportunistic defensively. Prior to this season, I talked about in recent years, especially last year, the Bruins had one of the worst recovery rates of fumbles in terms of fumble luck. What does that mean? When there have been fumbles on the deck, when there's fumbles on the field, UCLA has not been recovering them at just an average clip, all right? One of the worst recovery rates last year UCLA had in recent years as a UCLA defense. So the first few weeks of the year, you see the Bruins, they're not forcing fumbles. They're not getting turnovers. It's like, okay, what's going on? Well, UCLA in the Penn State game started to get their nose to the football. 3 forced fumbles, and then they actually had a fumble recovery, which was their second of the season. And oh, by the way, what continued at Michigan State? UCLA, a couple of tackles for loss, another sack, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. You see the trend that's going on here with Kevin Coyle's defense against Maryland. No sacks, but the Bruins were a lot better at breaking up the pass. Maryland's not the most physical defense or physical offense. They didn't have a good running attack anyway, so the Bruins still had 3 tackles for loss, but 12 pass breakups, an interception when UCLA should have had at least 3 or 4, and then they forced another fumble. So as much as Jerry Neuheisel and the Bruins have been good, opportunistic, going aggressive on 3rd and short, 4th and short, making plays happen, getting the extra possessions on the punt returns or on the onside kick event against Penn State, and UCLA's 3 wins, the Bruins have recovered 3 fumbles. 3. This year, UCLA has recovered 5 fumbles of the opponent's 12 fumbles overall, whether they're forced or unforced. So that means almost half the fumbles, whether they're forced or unforced, have been recovered by UCLA. Some of that you can attribute to luck, but the Bruins have also been engaging better physically. They've been getting in the backfield, all right? It's one thing if the opponent is just dropping the handoff or dropping the snap, but if you're creating so much havoc, so much chaos in the backfield, and these quarterbacks, these running backs, these receivers are getting the ball punched loose, everything, and you have guys rallying to the football. It's not just one dude making a play. It's all 11 guys engaged in one full defensive call, play to play, maintaining the energy to the whistle. You're seeing a complete change from week to week as the Bruins look better in different ways, different places. Last week, it was the DBs. It was their time to shine. Now, if they had a bunch of pick sixes or a bunch of picks, this game would have been over early against Maryland. It would have been even close. And until the very end, UCLA defensively didn't give up anything against Maryland. The Terrapins couldn't even punch it in from 1st and goal from the 2, 4th and goal from the 2. They couldn't get in. And UCLA's been even better, even though if you look at the numbers between UCLA and the opponents, 22 scores in the red zone. But the opposition has had 4 to 5 empty trips when entering the red zone of just not scoring. So the defense has been better this year at when they're bending. They're not just breaking. They're making sure teams that are trying to be aggressive are not scoring whatsoever. Mixed in with some fumble luck and a lot more physicality, the Bruins have showcased the physicality, whether it's already been reported by Tim Skipper's changes in practice and by Kevin Coyle helping turning around this defense in a blink. The players are in the backfield all the time. And if they're not, the DBs who the Bruins went after relentlessly in the portal and the recruiting this year and next year are starting to make plays when Malik Washington was testing him. Now they got to get more hands on the football. UCLA this year had their first interception of the year against Maryland. Let me tell you that again. First interception of the year. And they could have had 4 in that game. So firsts are starting to string together. Fumble luck in every single win this year for UCLA. And that's something that needs to continue. Will it continue? And as a sign of, will this continue to keep going in a winning fashion? Or is the luck about to run out? Yet, Kevin Coyle, despite the fumble luck terms, it's taken an overhaul of just immense insanity to see how this defense went from what they looked like to begin this year to, as he's been quoted in saying to the media, yeah, you want to highlight what makes these players good. You want to teach them the game, get them better in life, but also put them in positions to succeed, which as your fundamental goal as a coach, you have the talent you have. He came in the middle of the year and was given a crazy, I don't know if it's an opportunity, he just had a job. Can you fix this defense to just make them decent? And he has made them, I'm not going to say solid, the best unit in the country, because there's some better numbers, but has turned it around to be respectable and be in games that they just weren't in the first few weeks when they're out-muscled by New Mexico. When UNLV took it to them in the first half, Utah just ran right through them, right down the middle. Dive here, boom, 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 for many, many rushing yards. Now the Bruins are making plays. I'd love to see some of those teams the Bruins played early in the year, but unfortunately you don't get that chance. But we do have the chance to say Kevin Coyle has made some of the most improvements I've ever seen in season by a coach. Offensively, yes, Jerry has done a lot and he deserves a lot of the credit, but you can't forget to give it all to Kevin Coyle as we're giving it to Tim Skipper. And Jerry, Kevin Coyle's done an amazing job. Now, what do the Bruins need to do against Fernando Mendoza in Indiana? A lot of it is physical, but we'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda, they deliver the confidence with every ride and more IIH top safety picks than anybody else. From the footwork to the breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and that's what Mazda brings in the same intention, the same energy into how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. So check out the all-wheel drive standard in almost every crossover USUV. You can drive with confidence through every season. Like all our players, we sweat every detail because when you move, you make every move count. And just like Mazda does, it makes impossible become irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And we're talking about Peloton because they're shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton cross-training tread. And also it's powered by Peloton IQ, the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance in endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for the breakthroughs, and with the tools you plan, stay motivated, and reach your peak performance. Because the Peloton IQ system offers the real-time strength coaching and actually tracks your reps while suggesting the right weights, correcting the form, makes your reps safer and even smarter. All right. Their personalized class recommendations help keep you engaged. Any of the workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and even push forward and explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, cruising on to segment 2, we're talking the defensive things UCLA has to do, the keys to the game for the defensive side of the football for UCLA against Fernando Mendoza. Is getting a lot of love, potential Heisman candidate, well, one-time target for UCLA in the portal when he left Cal. This is the Cal quarterback that last year had a Miami team on the ropes in the ACC late-night college game day type game where he was quarterbacking Cal. Now they got a lot of love over there for their new Cal quarterback, but Fernando Mendoza was the guy that when he got hurt, Cal didn't do much. When he was healthy, man, they were really competitive in their first season in the ACC. So Mendoza coming over to Indiana gives them different type of weapon compared to a Curtis Rourke, who we saw last year. And what Indiana came to the Rose Bowl and did to the Bruins in Deshaun Foster's home opener, out-muscle, out-class, out-execute, just about everything UCLA did wrong is what Indiana did right. And Mendoza, for all intents and purposes, is a better quarterback than Curtis Rourke, all right? And Curtis Rourke was really good for an Indiana team changing the culture. Now they're not the culture, they're the vibe. They are the thing that everybody wants to attain in terms of overseason, overnight sensations into sustainability. What Kevin Coyle has to do and what he was talking about in his video posted by the UCLA Athletics Media Scrum is that Indiana is kind of old school, which in his mind and in my mind means that's physical. They play the game the right way. It's execution and not a lot of mistakes. So what you're going to see is, can UCLA get off the field? It's when the 3rd and 5s can turn into a 3rd and 7. All right. When Indiana gets those 5-yard chunk plays on first down or second down, are the Bruins going to be disciplined enough on 3rd down or those long downs and distances where they're not going to be called for a holding or a PI, or when they have a chance to intercept a pass thrown by Fernando Mendoza, you have to secure it. The first interception of the year for UCLA happened in that Maryland game. Can the Bruins actually make plays on the football? They've had the fumble luck, so they're going to need something. Maybe if there's some bad weather at play out of nowhere. Indiana, their last home game, did have a weather-related delay. Will there be something that just kind of shifts gears, switches the momentum, the pendulum, over to UCLA side? Because the Bruins, I think, in this game have to be front runners. So there's going to be their fair share of UCLA needing to score and outscore the Hoosiers. And this is a Hoosier defense that was really good against Dante Moore in Oregon. The UCLA defense has to be ready to come to play. If they can match the physicality of Indiana, then they will be in this game until the fourth quarter. Now, I will have my own predictions with Jacob Goins on what I think might happen. Maybe it's going away. But the Bruins come in, and they're as physical as they've showcased these last few weeks, matching the muscle that was Penn State before they got hurt and James Franklin was fouled. Because as much as Penn State was a mess, they could still move the football. They were physical, and the Bruins shocked everybody with the physicality they played from the second half Northwestern all the way now through the Maryland matchup. All the way through that. You mix in a couple of changes here, but the fact that UCLA, with their defensive coordinator, has a new sense of swagger, a new sense of strength, and a full buy-in. It's how many third and longs does UCLA force Indiana into, and how much do the Hoosiers convert? Because the Bruins have prided themselves on time of possession. So this is kind of a mixture between the offense and the defense here, but the defense has to get off the field. If Indiana goes down, converts 2 or 3 long third downs, or just third downs in a row, keeps Nico off the field, and you turn that into a touchdown, that's not going to lead to success. UCLA needs to have the ball in their offense's hands for as long as possible. That is how the Bruins have been able to flip games, hold on to the lead, race from the front, and just not let the opposition have any chances or too many chances. Now, Maryland had an endless amount, but they weren't on the football for long. When it came out of the halftime break, 3 and out in the blink of an eye. The Bruins have to come out. I think the first drive is a trend setter. It's a tone setter. You need a 3 and out. You need something that gets Indiana a little bit like, wait, we're at home, and I know they've gone on the road to beat Oregon. They smashed Illinois, but the Bruins need to come out and punch the Hoosiers in the mouth. Not literally, but they got to come out and be like, we're here to play. We're here to match the physical intensity that Curt Cignetti demands of his Indiana team. Well, Tim Skipper is demanding the same thing. Kevin Coyle is demanding the same thing. Indiana cannot convert more than 35% of their third downs in this game. And if they do, they better be a third and long, and it might be one drive, not consistently drive after drive after drive. The Bruins have to get off the field. And again, I just had this idea, Indiana's not going to do anything cute. UCLA, they might get a little cute. They're going to do their little formation switches. They're going to do the shifts to bring maybe Berger in to carry the ball with Nico running to the side. There might be some fake punts, maybe an onside kick. There's going to be something UCLA has game planned and is prepared, is not just pulled out in this game on the offensive side and in special teams. Maybe we see a fake field goal pass. I don't know what Tim Skipper has in mind. But for Kevin Coyle, this is one of those games where I think he has a feel for what's coming. It's just a matter of whether he can get the Bruins coached up to meet the moment. Be physical, get in the backfield. Know they're going to lose some battles. The Bruins will lose some battles up front in the line of scrimmage. It's just, can they make enough negative plays, get Indiana behind the chains enough? And when it comes to third down, don't let Mendoza scramble. Don't let some chunk play occur when you had a guy tackled shy of the first down marker. That's been another difference for this UCLA team. Missed tackles have become a lot less. Now, it's hard to watch Drew Aller run for first down after first down after first down for Penn State. That can happen in this game. If that happens, Indiana's going to put up a lot of points, and we're going to get crushed with our hearts late in this game by an Indiana drive that breaks everybody's heart when UCLA is on the verge of something special. You have to get off the field and keep this a game in the fourth quarter. And maybe, just maybe, it might be the Indiana side that falters. It's not the most likely of scenarios, but the longer you stay in this game, that's where UCLA needs to come in. And they have to force at least a turnover, maybe 2, which is not what Fernando Mendoza and this Hoosier squad has been known to do this year or even last year with Curtis Rourke. Those are things to look out for in this game. Next, I'm going to talk about some of those All-American, All-America squads where you look at some of the most impactful players. I'm not sure why Donovan Dent is not on top of every single one of these lists. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. From the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting those tickets could feel more like a battle than the game itself. The endless queues, the hidden fees, the prices, they jump at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to you, to me, the fan, and it's the easiest way to score those last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees, and what you see is what you pay. The app's super simple. You can see the exact view from your seat before you're buying. You're like, am I stuck behind a pole? Am I stuck in the corner at Dodger Stadium? Am I stuck in the sunny spot of the Rose Bowl? What's going to be a hotter fall afternoon, evening than I thought? Well, you can see those. And there's zone deals where you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, switching gears to the hardwood, we're talking UCLA hoops. And now we're starting to see a lot more preseason action, talking basketball, who's an All-American, who's not All-American. And here are some lists that I've been starting to see. When it came to preseason All-American, you had the likes of Purdue and their big man on campus in Braden Smith getting a unanimous All-American selection. Unanimous preseason. It's as if Donovan Dent doesn't exist. Yes, I understand Braden Smith is really, really good. But Donovan Dent is one of the elite players in college basketball, one of the most coveted players in the transfer portal. UCLA is offering and giving him close to $3 million in NIL opportunities in what was an NIL contract, one of the biggest UCLA has ever offered for a player, especially in basketball. Mick Cronin says, I want this guy. I need him to be a little less turnover prone. And the numbers similar between Braden Smith to Donovan Dent. So as much as, yes, Braden Smith earned every right to be on this list a little bit more than Dent, the fact that it's unanimous, but the fact that not even a whiff of the top tier squad is Donovan Dent looking to crack. I think that's a little, I don't know. I can't wait till the Boilermakers make their way to Poly, a preseason number 1, coming down to Los Angeles, making their way to Westwood, and Donovan Dent puts on a show. Now, Dent isn't going to put up those gaudy numbers. Braden Smith didn't always put up those gaudy numbers, but he is a tough-nosed, grinded-out point guard that stayed the extra year and wants to lead Purdue to the promised land. Well, sorry to break it to you, but Donovan Dent has some solid defensive numbers at New Mexico, even better than Tiger Campbell. And Mick Cronin wants more of him defensively. He's got the ability to glide into the paint, get his way to the foul, get his way to the stripe, the charity stripe, make his free throws, score from all different levels. Yeah, you look at those numbers at the exhibition versus San Diego State, cool. But then San Diego State is also the dark horse in some places, especially the Mountain West, to make another Final Four run. And if you're looking at all the teams, all the players that know how to guard a Donovan Dent, San Diego State in the Mountain West is one of those. So don't let the exhibition numbers fool you for Donovan Dent. You have a team and a coach that was absolutely prepared in a raucous exhibition environment to take on one of the best players in the country in Donovan Dent. So the preseason All-American rankings, I just unanimous without I just don't get it. Then I saw another article looking at who are some of the top newcomers. This is from ESPN. It was a Jeff Borzello and Paul Biancardi piece. And all right, they had some of the top newcomers. This includes freshmen and transfers. And remember, there is no Cooper Flagg on this list. He's in the NBA. They had Darren Peterson, number 1, Cameron Boozer to Duke, number 2, AJ DeBonsa to BYU, number 3, Yaxel Lendenberg, 4, and then Donovan Dent, 5. And I'm just like, how is Donovan Dent 5? In this write-up by Jeff Borzello of ESPN, it says, quote, Dent should transform UCLA's offense. One of UCLA's one of college basketball's elite point guards. Impossible to keep out of the paint. Top 15 in scoring and assists last year. And yet, despite all that, why is it Braden Smith getting every single vote for preseason All-American? I don't know. And how is a guy that is one of the elite point guards getting less love than a Darren Peterson in Kansas? Yes, AJ DeBonsa, who literally had his dad go do the recruiting, go read the Washington Post article, do the recruiting for him to see if he could get it to BYU. I'm not sure how much the financials all played a role in him going to BYU with that big opportunity with the Cougars and Provo. But you're like, okay, prove it. Donovan Dent's proven it. And then you got Cameron Boozer, obviously the son of an NBA player. And you're like, okay, he goes to Duke. Yaxel has been ranked ahead of Donovan Dent in every transfer portal ranking, I think, since the offseason in terms of number 1, number 2. I think Donovan Dent is going to outplay almost all these guys, especially the freshmen. And Yaxel, it's a little different because he's a forward, so different positions, different things. I think the guy Dent wants to outplay is Braden Smith. But in terms of who's the best transfer, I think Donovan Dent is the guy. UCLA is going to be transformed. They're going to be so much more exciting because Dent's in the forefront. here we go. Pauley Pavilion should be energized and packed. Even though there's going to be a lot of boring non-conference home games, Dent is going to breathe the vibe and the energy. Maybe not quite to Lonzo level in terms of recent UCLA good seasons, good vibes. But hey, he's going to lead the team, and they'll be a lot more enjoyable than even 2 years ago when UCLA won the Pac-12. More enjoyable to watch, but probably more defensively sound than the Steve Alford, Lonzo Ball-led UCLA squad that made it to the Sweet 16. They're going to be more like the team that played well and won the Pac-12 and should have gotten much further in the NCAA tournament if they didn't have a Jalen Clark injury, if they didn't have a Dembona shoulder injury. All right, that's how good this team is, and that's how good Donovan Dent is. And yet, not the most preseason love. I think they're going to learn to regret that come March and April. Until then, we'll have the next episode talking with more UCLA football, basketball, and everything in between. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.